Most people who die in a collapse situation don't die because they ran out of gear. They die because they ran out of skills. Gear breaks, gear gets stolen, gear expires in a basement while you congratulate yourself for buying it. But a skill lives in your nervous system. It runs from your hands before your brain even catches up. Gear is what you buy. Skills are what you become. And in the end, only one of those can ever be taken from you. Here's the truth the prepper industry doesn't want you to figure out. Most survivalists have spent more money on tactical equipment than on training a single practical skill. They've got Faraday cages, freeze-dried meals, and enough flashlights to illuminate a small stadium. But they can't navigate without a phone, can't close a wound properly, can't get a fire going in the rain if their life, which it would be, depended on it. The gear economy has colonized the survival space completely, and it is going to get those people killed. Special Forces operators have understood this for decades. The most dangerous human in a denied environment isn't the one with the most equipment, it's the one who can operate with nothing. 6 skills make that possible. Let's go through each one, why it works at the biology and physics level, and exactly what most preppers get dangerously wrong about every single one. Navigation without GPS. And here's what almost nobody tells you about this skill. It isn't just something you lose when you stop using it. It's a brain structure that physically degrades. Your brain is literally getting worse at finding its way the more you use Google Maps. Studies on GPS dependency show measurable reduction in hippocampal activity. That's the region responsible for spatial memory, when navigation gets consistently outsourced to a device. The damage is real, but so is the reversal. You can rebuild it. You just have to do it deliberately before you need it. What most preppers get wrong. They think navigation means knowing how to use a compass. It doesn't. Real navigation means you never stop tracking where you are, so you never have to figure it out from scratch. Special Forces land nav training isn't about finding a grid point. It's about maintaining a continuous mental map, one that updates with every ridge, every valley, every shift in terrain. At night, Polaris sits within 1 degree of true north and never moves. Find the Big Dipper, draw a line through the 2 outer stars of the cup, extend it 5 times its own length. That's north. During the day, push a stick into the ground, mark the shadow tip, wait 15 minutes, mark it again. The line between those 2 points runs east to west. Solar geometry. Works when every battery on the planet is dead. Be honest, when's the last time you navigated somewhere new without your phone? If the answer is never, your brain is already working against you. Wounds closure. And this is where most civilian survival training crosses from unhelpful into actively dangerous. Almost every bug-out kit contains sutures or staples. Almost none of the people carrying them know the most important rule about using them in a grid-down situation. A contaminated wound that gets closed becomes an incubator. You seal bacteria inside tissue with no antibiotics available, and what you've built is an infection that can kill you in 72 hours. The suture kit isn't saving your life, it's accelerating your death with extra steps. What most preppers get wrong. They think wound closure means sealing the wound. The 18 Delta Special Forces medical curriculum teaches something different. Wound assessment first, always. A dirty wound needs irrigation before anything else. The improvised method is a plastic bag with a pinhole filled with the cleanest water available, squeezed under pressure directly into the wound. That removes bacterial load more effectively than any topical antiseptic ever made. For deep lacerations that won't stop bleeding through direct pressure, butterfly strips from strong adhesive tape bring the wound edges together and let your body's clotting mechanism do the actual closing. For arterial bleeding, blood pulsing in rhythmic bursts, a tourniquet applied 2 to 3 inches above the wound, tightened until the bleeding stops, can stay in place for up to 2 hours without permanent damage. The fear of losing a limb to a tourniquet is a myth. You know what actually costs the limb? Bleeding to death while you hesitate. Write the time on their forehead. Keep moving. Fire in wet conditions. Here's the angle almost every survival channel skips entirely. Fire in a survival scenario isn't a comfort, it's medicine. Hypothermia begins at 95 degrees Fahrenheit core temperature. You can get there in 50-degree weather with rain, wind, and exhaustion in the equation. You don't feel extreme cold when it's happening. You feel tired, then confused, then you stop shivering, and that's when your body has given up trying to warm itself. Fire is what interrupts that sequence before it completes. If you've ever tried to start a fire in the rain and failed, you already know exactly why 97% don't make it. What most preppers get wrong: they approach wet-conditioned fire starting the same way they'd approach any other fire. The surface of any wood in rain is useless. The dry heart is always there, inside a split log, under the bark of a fallen tree, in the inner branches of a dense conifer. That's your fuel source. Your tinder needs to be finer than you think. Shredded inner bark, scraped wood dust, anything that catches a spark rather than a flame. And your structure needs to lift the fuel off saturated ground and create the airflow that pulls the flame up through it. The log cabin arrangement does this. Small and hot beats large and struggling every single time. A controlled fist-sized flame you can nurse with gradually drying wood is infinitely more survivable than a collapsed pile of wet logs producing steam. Bartering psychology. In Argentina in 2001, when the economy collapsed overnight and the peso became worthless paper, there was a man in Buenos Aires who survived for months on almost no physical resources. Every morning he walked the same neighborhood route, and every day he traded one piece of information: which streets were safe, which stores still had stock, which routes the police were avoiding, food, water, medicine. He never told anyone what he actually had at home. He never revealed his full hand. But people started protecting him because he made them feel less afraid. He became indispensable not by having the most, but by understanding what people needed most urgently and showing up as the person who could provide it. That is the entire psychology of collapse-era bartering, and it's documented across every major modern collapse: Yugoslavia, Katrina, Argentina, in the same pattern every time. The people who ate weren't always the ones who'd stockpiled the most. They were the ones who understood need sequencing. The shoemaker in Sarajevo who could repair boots during a siege. The woman who knew which routes were safest and sold that knowledge for bread. Information, trust, and emotional safety, those became the real currency faster than anyone with a food stockpile expected. What most preppers get wrong: they think bartering is about exchanging physical goods. It is for the first week. After that, it's entirely social architecture. Never reveal your full inventory. Scarcity is leverage, and the moment you know you have more than you need, you've painted a target on yourself. Lead with unconditional good faith early. Information given freely, a small resource with no immediate ask, creates a social debt that compounds over time. And understand that in prolonged stress, emotional safety is worth almost any material good. The person who listens, keeps their word, and makes other people feel less afraid doesn't run out of trading partners. The guy with 6 months of canned food who trusts no one and talks to no one, he runs out of allies first. Then he runs out of everything else. Improvised shelter. One principle runs all of this. Dead airspace is your insulator. Your body generates heat. Your shelter's entire job is to trap that heat and deny the wind any path to strip it away. The debris hut is the most thermally efficient natural shelter a human can build with no tools whatsoever. Ridgepole propped at 30 degrees, stick ribs along both sides like a fish skeleton, 2 feet of leaves and forest debris packed over the entire structure. 2 feet of dry debris has roughly the same insulating value as several inches of solid foam. Your body heat builds inside the trapped air and the structure holds it. Near freezing temperatures, no fire, no sleeping bag, nothing. It works. This section draws on practical field survival experience rather than formal academic sources. What most preppers get wrong: they build too big. Your body cannot heat a large space. The debris hut should be just barely big enough for your body to fit inside, coffin dimensions. That sounds terrible, and it will save your life. Now, stress inoculation. This is a skill underneath all the other skills. This is the one that decides whether everything you just learned actually activates when you need it or stays locked behind a wall of panic you can't break through. Every survival technique in existence is useless if you freeze, and most people who have never practiced making decisions under genuine physiological stress will freeze. Not because they're weak, because stress shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain running rational decisions, and hands control to the amygdala, which only knows patterns. If the pattern it needs has never been rehearsed under pressure, it has nothing to run. You stand there, and the situation moves on without you. What most preppers get wrong: they practice their skills when they're rested, comfortable, and unhurried. Then they assume that transfers to a crisis. It doesn't. A skill only practiced in comfort is a fragile skill. Special Forces training embeds every technical evolution inside physical and psychological stress, sleep deprivation, cold, hunger, time pressure, noise, because that's the only way to push a skill below the cognitive threshold so it runs automatically when the rational brain goes quiet. You don't need a selection course to do this. You need the discipline to practice discomfort deliberately. Build your fire in the rain, navigate when you're exhausted, run your first date scenario with a clock counting down and someone creating chaos around you. Put yourself in low-stakes, uncomfortable situations often enough that your nervous system learns one foundational truth: discomfort is survivable information, not a signal to stop. Research on stress-trained individuals shows significantly faster return to baseline after acute stress events. Their bodies metabolize the panic response faster and hand control back to rational thinking sooner. That is a trainable adaptation. That is what you're actually building every time you choose the harder version of the practice. The 97% who don't make it aren't less intelligent, they're less practiced. They've rehearsed comfort their entire lives and quietly assumed that equipment would substitute for competence when the moment actually arrived. It never does. Not when the ground is wet, the GPS is dead, the wound won't close, and the person across from you is deciding in 3 seconds whether to trust you or not. In those moments, and more people than are willing to admit it are going to face versions of those moments, what you've built inside yourself is the only thing that functions. So start building it. Not because collapse is inevitable, but because every single one of these skills makes you more capable, more calm, and more dangerous in the best possible way, collapse or not. The 3% aren't waiting to find out. They're already in the rain, starting a fire, getting it wrong, and starting again. The only question that matters right now is simple. Are you going to join them, or are you going to keep buying gear?